Okay. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Tina Hull back again. How are y'all? Hope things are going well. So, since you ladies showed up, I'm going to give you first option for questions, and then I'll see what I can get through with the rest of the questions. Any questions coming up for you, Joe? And
No.
if there's none, it's no big deal. Okay.
Don't think so. Not
Okay,
at the
so
moment.
Nicole. Okay. And Nicola, you brought up a couple, so I'm going to go through those. Are there any other questions that have come up since you wrote them?
No, I don't think so. I think those were a couple.
Okay. So first question is, how do you allow the self-healing energy to flow freely? And it's a great question. So it's kind of layered though. So it is a mind, body, heart, and soul thing. So we've got to connect with our higher selves. We have to get some mindset right, because sometimes the mindset is the belief that creates the wobble that doesn't allow the healing. And then we also have physical stuff that we need to do. So I helped with some of it when we did the sticky note removal. And then there's cord cutting and stuff like that we can do as well. What we also want to do is clear we want to clear all the chakras so they're in alignment. So what I use is there's an app, or not an app, it's a YouTube group of videos, and it's called Taos Winds, TAOSWINDS. And you could just pull it up. What I do for myself is, if there's not a specific chakra that's being called to be cleared for me, then whatever comes up in the feed is the one that I go with. And it depends on time, because they have some 30-minute ones, some 20-minute ones, and 15. So I usually go for the 15, which is what I can afford as far as time goes. So those are the ones I do. If I feel the need, there is a chakra clearing for all of them. So for the first little while, you might want to do that, because I'm sure that some of the chakras have more, some have less, but I'm sure most of them are needing clearing. And that's what I do. Does that answer that question?
Thank you, that's good.
Okay. So, and then you asked, do you have any recommendations for any guided guided meditations to listen to? Not the guided meditations to listen to, but that's what I do, is with the Taos Winds.
That's good. Thank you very much.
So there was this past week, worthiness and not good enough and deservedness was coming up for me. So what I did is I went into YouTube. I put in the question, worthiness and deservedness guided meditation, and something came up, and I listened to that a couple times. So it's just a matter of figuring out what the specific thing is that you're needing. And you could look up NLP as well. It's supposed to be very good. And that's, I think it's more musical. Yep. N as in Nancy, L as in Larry, P as in Peter, NLP.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it just depends on what you're going through at the time, because it's so specific to your daily experience, right? So some days you might be feeling lots of anger, so there might be a guided meditation that will help you release it. And what I've noticed for myself is that movement is really big. So I go for walks, or I do some Pilates or yoga, do something just to move my body, to allow the emotions to move through me.
Thank you.
Okay. So another lady said, I'm willing to believe, my goodness, my own writing, that I am statement. So when we're, just to reiterate this, because she was saying it was new to her, if we're doing affirmations, then we want to create it in the present tense. So I've already received this. So if we want health, then I am healthy. Not I'm wanting to be healthy, I am healthy. If you're having that bullshit meter and ego starts to say, no way, not going to happen, who do you think you are, we're too far gone, whatever the mind chatter is, then you want to say, I'm willing to believe I am healthy. And that little piece can make a big difference. I even found myself, so when I go for my walks, if I'm by myself, I have a probably about 9 different phrases that I use, because money is usually my issue. And I found myself, I think I was saying I was in a money sore, and I found myself having to put that little phrase in front of it because it didn't feel true. So if it doesn't feel true, then put that little phrase, I'm willing to believe, or something along that lines, where it allows your ego not to kick up. We got to work with our brains. It's the way it works, unfortunately. Then someone else said she had pain in her chest recently and letting go of giving up holding onto a property that may not be for her. And she noticed pain. Oh, someone else coming on? No. She noticed that the pain hadn't totally gone once she got rid of it, but it eased so much more. So there was no question behind it, but I wanted to bring this up because we talked about it a little bit yesterday. So pain is always a signal. So why do you think that, like, tap into your body? Why do you think there's pain there? And if you've been resisting something that you've been sensing, that you've been guided to do, or you've got a nudge to do, or you've been inspired to do, and your human self is like, no, I don't want to do it. It's going to hurt, or it's going to, whatever story we're telling ourselves, then what we need to do is figure out what the belief behind it is. Because maybe the belief is, well, if I let go of this property, then I'm not going to have as much money. But once if you let go of the property that's not working for you, and another property comes along and you have the space and time to actually take care of it, and then more money flows to you. There's a level of trust that we have to have when we have these niggles and nudges. I'm at a point in a phase right now where I don't question my niggles and nudges. I just feel it, I go for it. When I was planning my trip to Arizona in the spring, so a few things happened. My brother had said, well, Tina, I'll pay for your flight to come from St. Kitts to Toronto to visit. And then from Toronto, I would fly to Arizona. And I said, okay, great. And I should know better because my younger brother has great intentions and oftentimes doesn't follow through. So my bad. And so I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, I need to know by this date because I need to make plans and not get caught in having to pay more money. So I asked him like a week or so before. I had given him a bit of a deadline just to gauge it if he was going to do it or not. And he's like, no, I can't do it. And I'm like, damn, I knew it. And I was freaking out because I think it was only like 4 weeks before the trip. And so I was worried about the cost. So the cost had gone up, like it was originally $900 and then it went to 12. And I'm like, so now I'm being penalized $300 extra because I waited for my brother. Like I was really upset about the whole thing, but I let it go. I'm like, okay, it's out of my control. I'll just keep looking to see if there's any, because getting out of the Caribbean can be really challenging. So, but there's different routes. So I looked at flying out of Puerto Rico, if that would be cheaper, flying out of Miami would be cheaper, flying out of St. Martin would be cheaper, and just kind of went back and forth and back and forth. And then a friend of mine said, oh, Tina, I really want to come. I'm like, oh, you have until tomorrow night. And if I don't hear from you, I'm booking this flight, like I'm no more delays, right? But if it wasn't for her, I probably would have booked the flight at that $1,200 and it would have taken me 20 hours to get there because it would have been like 2 layovers, but the 2 layovers were not enough time for me to book a hotel room. So I would have had to been up for 20 hours and basically lose 2 days. So I waited for her and she said she wasn't going to come. And so I went in, I had dinner, and I got this like nudge, go now, book. And I had 2 sites up. And the one that I had been was the cheaper one. I went to first and it was now up to, I think, $1,300. And I was like, oh my God, it's getting worse, not better. And again, trusting, right? So I went to the other site, $800. I'm like, what? If I went a day later or a day earlier or something like that. So I got that flight. So I got it for $100 cheaper, but I didn't make it mean anything. I didn't put any emotion around it. I allowed myself to be disappointed for the fact that my brother said no when he was going to do something. And then my friend kind of I allowed my friend to interfere. But I followed my instincts, my intuition, my gut. So if something is feeling off, that is your gut and your soul self telling you something is wrong and something needs to be changed. So then we want to look for what's going to feel better, what's going to be more inspiring, what's going to light you up, what's going to be a better feeling thought or action or whatever. So hopefully that makes sense. So I have a feeling that this person, when she releases that property, will end up getting a better property than it was before. But because she resisted for so long, she might have also missed out on the opportunity that was there. So we got to be careful with that as well, because it's timing, but we're putting the resistance there. Okay. Next one was this person noticed that she goes to sleep at night and wake up in a not so good mood, although went to bed in a great mood. So I challenge you to really pay attention to what you were thinking before you went to bed. Because maybe you felt good, but maybe the thoughts that you had weren't good. So what I did when I was in the throes of the just separating and just feeling so angry and bitter and all the things is I went into gratitude. So I did gratitude at night and I did gratitude in the morning. And I just rhymed off a bunch of things that I was grateful for, because great gratitude will increase your vibration and it will help you heal faster, think better, worry less, and just make you feel good. So this is why we want to be in gratitude and appreciation as much as we possibly can. Okay. And if that's not the case, then I would recommend putting a pyramid around you at nighttime, have a mental image of a pyramid, and set the intention that anything dark in the night is not going to approach you, and you're gonna feel good when you wake up. Or only allow a love and light come in and love and light to go out, but nothing dark it can come in, or evil, or any of that. Because unfortunately there are entities and there are some bad intended people on this planet. So maybe you're sensing someone else's stuff. Or maybe that's what it is. When you wake up in the morning, it's not even yours. Maybe it's someone else's. So as an empath, we can take on other people's physical pain, and we can take on other people's emotional pain. So if you're feeling really good and everything's fine and you're just, going along, and all of a sudden, and I've had this, all of a sudden something hits you and your mood is switched. It's like, I've been so sad where I was practically in tears and I was just feeling so heavy. And I kept hearing, it's not yours. Put out a post about, everybody who's going through a really heavy time, I'm sending you love and light. I did that and it dissipated. So just be aware that it might not even be yours. Okay. And if you've been in a narcissistic relationship, it's almost guaranteed that you're an empath. It's really common for them to pick us out. So just be aware of that. Okay. So the next comment was, gaslighting destroyed them even when they knew they were being gaslighted. Why did they stay in the narcissistic relationship so long? Wow, if I could answer that, I would. So here is how I look at things now. If I left when I first started having things happening where I wasn't feeling happy in the marriage, and there were moments, so I married forever, I thought, and that was my intention when I went into it. I thought I had done a lot of healing beforehand, so I didn't realize, I didn't even know what narcissism was. I didn't know what gaslighting was, because remember, we are also used to some of this trauma, drama, arguing and stuff, probably in growing up with our families, and we see it all the time. So if we're not in a healthy home environment, then how do we know what's healthy or not? And so we got to have compassion in ourselves. That's first and foremost, and realize that we did the best we can for the length of time that we did. Now, when I became aware of the fact that there is such a thing as narcissism and gaslighting, all of a sudden it was adding up. And that's when I really made the shift and the change. So the other thing is that maybe you've got children involved and you're a busy person and you've got this going on and that going on and this going on. And sometimes, for me, what it was about a lot of times is I didn't take the time to really assess it. And again, as an empath, and I don't know if this is true for you, not everybody has this, but I am capable of seeing his side and my side. So what I would do is I would justify him and his behavior. I would let it go. And thinking, oh, well, that's just Elton and whatever, right? And we shouldn't do that. So, but this is my lesson that I learned. So with this new person that I'm interacting with now, I'm not letting him get away with that. I'm saying what I feel. And I'm expressing myself and communicating, because I now know that's not healthy and it's not fair to me, because my needs and wants aren't being met. So there's always lessons to learn in these relationships. And like I mentioned before, I have like, I think there was 10 or 15 different lessons learned. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't know how to set boundaries. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in my personal power. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be talking to you ladies about this. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the leader and the strong woman and in my personal power and not being manipulated and dictated to anymore. If it wasn't for him, right? So sometimes these people are in our lives to help us grow and expand into the best versions of us and to get healthy and to heal. It sounds wicked and it's not a best way to go, but at least we're taking positive out of the negative. Right? And then we also now know what an unhealthy relationship is. So then when we do have somebody that comes into our lives that is healthier, then we can negotiate, navigate better. There was this one guy I was connecting with, and he said something when, and I said, you know, very clearly, and I wasn't budging on this, no, and whatever my reasoning was. But I didn't have to give a reason necessarily. My no was no. And he was like, well, what about no? Well, what about? And before I would have gone with the whatabouts. But now I don't want to, I'm not gonna. That's full stop. Right? So we can get stronger through these experiences if we allow ourselves to do the healing and to actually look at what's going on and not get caught up in the past and stay in the past and get caught up in the guilt and the shame and the could've and should'ves. And because I look back at my diaries or any kind of journal entering, and almost every one of them for the last 15 years has basically said at one point that I wish that I had a marriage that was happy, healthy. And I'm like, damn, I really was missing the clues. Like I just didn't want to believe it about him because we love the person, right? So again, it's sometimes it's because we don't want to see it. Sometimes we're not ready to see it. Maybe we're not strong enough to see it. Who knows? And why does it matter? I'm not going to beat myself up over the fact that 22 years later, it was the day I said no. And honest to God, if he hadn't said what he said and did what he did when he did it, I probably would still be married to him and still with him. Because again, I was marrying forever. Because you're told in a partnership, well, at least I was told in religion and in society, is that, you know, people quit too easy. And so you've got to give the person a benefit of the doubt, and you've got to, you know, have some understanding and compassion and all this kind of stuff. But I went to the extreme of giving him too much credit, too much compassion for him. But then I lost myself in it all. Okay. One person says she wants to be married, but she's not. So here's the thing. Ask yourself why you want to be married. If you're in a committed relationship already, why does the marriage, quote unquote, matter? Because these days common law marriage is still a committed marriage, it's a committed relationship. And if you're not happy in that relationship, why would you want to get married and lock yourself in even more? Because getting a divorce is a hell on wheels. It's gonna give you more pain, more aggravation, more frustration than you need. So really check in with yourself. Why do you want to be married? And is the person that you're thinking of, if you're already in a relationship, do you really want to marry that person? And you also have to ask yourself, why haven't you gotten married already? If he or she is denying you that, maybe they're not the right person for you. Because maybe they don't want to get married. Or maybe they just don't want to get married to you. And that can be harsh reality, but you have to face the reality of it all and start looking for the truth. So there was this couple, and we were talking the other day, and there's many couples who they've been dating for like 16, 20 years, in a committed relationship. They get married, year and a half later, they're divorced. And some of it is because you think the marriage is going to fix things, just like putting a baby in the mix, or you think the person's going to change for the better because you're married. And sometimes people change for the worse after they get married, especially if they don't want to be married, because now they feel boxed in and committed, and like they're in a prison and got all these stories and dramas around the fact that they didn't marry you in the first place, and they've just conceded to do it because maybe threatened that was going to be the end of the relationship. So really ask yourself, do you want to get married? And if you do, is this the right person? Because I'd hate to see you get involved in a marriage and then the nightmare will begin. Okay, I want to touch on disappointment. So, disappointment. We get disappointed for trying and failing. We get disappointed for not trying at all. We get disappointed by other people. We get disappointed by maybe we think we should be further along than we are. And hey, I'm talking for myself. So again, no judgment or no criticism. And what I now know is that disappointment is part of life. We're not perfect. We have our journey. We're going to go as fast and slow as we need to go. And being disappointed, especially in ourselves, is only going to keep you further back from where you want to go, because it's part of a lack state now. So when you're in that lack state, then what are you going to attract? More things that you're going to lack. If you're disappointed, then what are you going to attract? More things to be disappointed about. If you're feeling abundant and you're feeling happy, what are you going to attract? More things to feel abundant and happy about. So it's the shift of focus. The other thing is that women, this is a big wound for us, being disappointed. We will do whatever it takes to avoid being disappointed. And then you have to ask yourself, is it worth being disappointed for trying and failed, or not trying at all? So in this journey of dating, and it's just my newest example, is that I have come across probably about 5 or 6 different men that I've had connection with. Now, it's all online, it's all social media, so I'm so aware of the fact that there's scammers out there. So I've been very cautiously going in, dipping my toe, having conversations, seeing where they're at, what's going on. And 3 of them have been scammers at the end. So there's about a 3-4 week mark. It seems like they have some kind of deadline that they have to, is it working? Is she going to fall for it, or do we toss her aside? And that's fine. But in dipping my toe, I've now met the man that I'm chatting with more seriously. He's a real man, and he is a really nice guy. So I don't know where the relationship's going to be, but we've got to put ourselves out there and the universe will reward us for doing that. And again, everything's about a lesson learned. So when I do any of my master classes, there's some things I do the same because I learned from the last one that really worked. I've done webinars and they don't work very well for me. So I've gone back to the master classes. But the webinar failed, in my opinion, because there wasn't very many people. I then went to having challenges or master classes in my group. And that didn't work for me because there was no commitment from the people in the group. And then people outside of the group didn't necessarily want to come into the group. They wanted a private group where they could just be for that master class and leave. So it's just learning. It's just, okay, it's an experiment. You know, is it working? Is it not working? What can I do differently? No matter what you're doing. Okay. Next, I don't believe I know what I'm doing, and there's so much to learn, and no, it overwhelms me. So first of all, there's two parts of that. There are stories. So you believe you don't know. So because you believe you don't know, you don't know. So there's a belief there, right? So we got to unravel that. And then you're saying that there's so much to learn and it's overwhelming and basically you can't learn it all. And that's not true either. The biggest thing for me, and I had this sense and this feeling, is that we've got to cut out the noise, and there's a point where you have to step back, especially if you're getting a lot of people telling you, do this, do that, do this, do that, try this, try that. And we have a choice, first of all, to listen to them or not. We have a choice in asking for their opinion or not. And most of us shouldn't ask for anybody's opinion because everybody's going to have a different one. I tried that with something, I can't remember what it was, and I got like four yeses on this thing and 5 no's, and I'm like, I'm more confused than I was before. And then I just, because you get so confused, you just drop it all together, right? So it doesn't matter what other people think. It really doesn't. We've got to get to the point where we just trust ourselves and our intuition to guide us. And if you're getting the nudge, and this masterclass didn't really make a whole lot of sense because I just had a masterclass in December. And I'm like, really? You want me to do another one so soon? Sure. Why not? There's a reason for it. And it could be because you, ladies and gentlemen, needed it. And it was meant for you. It could be because I needed it. Who knows the reason? But I don't question these things anymore. I just get the nudge. I go for it. Does this also mean relationship with our children? So children are tricky. And I'm not really sure. There was some other part of that. What I've come to understand about children is, so we are all individual human beings. We all came here to learn something different. And our soul wanted us to experience certain things. And so now I look at my children, my girls, as individuals who are on their journey. And there was this weekend 3 years ago around my birthday, where the girls were starting to back off of me because my ex had brainwashed them against me. And my oldest daughter wasn't as bad, but she was starting to back off me as well. And so they were planning on leaving that following February to go to Toronto with him. And so they got up in the morning. I was in the kitchen. They came out of their bedroom. They walked straight past me, went into the apartment that he stays in. had a 5-10 minute conversation with the door closed, then came back in running past me saying happy birthday, Mom, and then went into their bedroom, hung out for a half an hour, and went back into the apartment. And I knew that they weren't going to be celebrating my birthday, and I was prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for the way they did it. So I decided that I needed to respect myself, honor myself enough to have a conversation with them. Because if they cared, then hopefully they would learn the lesson that they need to do better next time. And during that conversation, it was clear that not that they didn't care, it's clear that they couldn't care. So my youngest said to me that she was being disloyal to Dad if she was loyal to me. And it was like this light bulb moment. I put my hands in the air and I went, okay, I cannot compete with that. I'm not going to put them in this push-pull energy and where they feel bad because they're not being loyal to me when they feel like they have to be loyal to him and all this kind of stuff, because it wasn't going to serve any of us. And I just decided there'll be a day when they have space and time from him that they will be able to see for themselves and make a choice as an adult if they actually choose to have a relationship with me. In the meantime, I've got to live my life. I get to live my life the way I want it. It hurts. There's no doubt about it. And I would prefer it to be different. And it makes zero sense to me because of how I raised them. But again, it's not my journey. So we've got to let them go. Children are their own people. And there's a point where we got to let them go and let them figure it out for themselves. They're capable. Eventually they'll figure it out. That's my thing on that. So most days you don't get the feeling of higher self moving, which upsets me. So how are you tapping into your higher self? Are you quiet within yourself, or are you expecting? So when we're connecting with our higher selves, it takes practice, and we've got to heal some of the layers to get to that connection. So I would recommend, if you do any of your own healing work, is clearing the pineal gland for sure. It's the seat of our soul and our connection to intuition. So, and if you want a session with me, I can help you with that. So just trust it a little bit more. And maybe it's showing up and you're not seeing it. I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, the feather that I found. And I almost walked by the feather, and it was a sign. It was a sign that everything was okay and going to be okay. But I almost missed it. So we don't always look for the signs. Maybe it's a sign through someone else. Maybe it's a sign through a song. When I was going through all this, there was this Hear Me Roar by, what's her name? Roar.
Perry.
Sorry, who?
Katy Perry.
Yes, Katy Perry. And I listened to that song for the first time, and that became my song. So it comes in different ways. Maybe it's a message to someone sends through to you. Maybe you're seeing angel numbers, 111s, 222s, 333s, whatever numbers that are coming up. Maybe you're seeing feathers. Maybe you're seeing blue stones after I mentioned it. It comes up in different ways. We've got to be open to see it, hear it, and feel it, and just know it and trust. that it's a sign and you're having that connection. And it takes practice, and it's got to be a concerted effort. Now, I don't honestly know, and maybe it's not even like, not everybody. When I had this conversation, we were in a group call with my coach and her students, and there were a couple ladies that could connect, but not all of them did. So it might be different for other people, right? So you don't want to make it wrong. You don't want to judge it. You don't want to criticize it. It just is what it is. And again, tap into your body and ask yourself what you can do, maybe even to connect deeper. The answers are always within us. It's just that we're looking outside of us for the answers most of the time. And again, if you want to get somewhere quicker, working with someone else is a good thing. But sometimes you've got to trust yourself. Like, I was going from coach to coach to coach. And then I was like, okay, enough. Let me integrate this. Let me put it to practice. Let me see what I still need to learn. Where do I need to pick up the ball on certain things, and where am I stronger and I don't need it anymore? So we've got to coach ourselves through some of these things as well, right? Excuse me. It's all about awareness. It's all about learning. It's all about having compassion for yourself. We're human, and we'll get there eventually. And there is never there. There is dead. So our journey is a winding path, and it's an up and down path. It's not a straight linear line, and there's no end destination. So this really hit home for me when I was watching an Abraham and Hicks video, and they were saying, you're never done. There's just another layer. This worthiness is, I thought that years ago. And this is just fine tuning now. This is mastery. This is just getting things so that it's even better than what it was before. Any comments or questions, ladies? I'm done on that aspect.
I have a question.
Okay.
Something that you haven't covered. And this is something I've struggled with when I heard it yesterday, and it was about forgiveness.
Mm.
I can't
about
accept that. I don't know how I can forgive. But when you said write a letter and then burn it, that seemed like a possible thing to do, just free write.
Right. Yeah.
But the act
it's just a symbol. Yeah. Well, so what does the act of forgiveness mean to you then, Joe?
Well, an act of forgiveness is forgiving them. I can't forgive somebody for what they've done to me. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but what does that mean? So does it mean like you're actually mentally saying to the person, I forgive you? Or is it mentally saying it? Or what is it representing for you?
Well, when you gave that question about forgiveness, and you were saying, you know, forgiving somebody, or you have to forgive people for if they've hurt you. I don't think I can do that.
So So forgiveness is not about letting them off the hook. Forgiveness is about letting go of the pain. It's about letting go of the maybe hate, like anger that you hold towards them. That's what it means to me. So when you're writing the letter, you're releasing it and letting it go, so it no longer has power or control over you anymore. It's not saying to the person, I forgive you. It's not saying to the person, what you did was okay, because it wasn't. It's not giving them a free pass. It's nothing. But we have to understand that if we did that and we said something to them, they would not have it within them to actually ask for forgiveness. And then ask yourself, if they did say, will you forgive me? Will you be able to? And probably not. And then the other thing is will you even accept it if they said that? Because you don't believe it, you're not.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You wouldn't believe it. Yeah. Wouldn't believe it.
Right. Yeah. So this is why the letter writing is so powerful, because you're just expressing yourself, you're releasing and letting go of all the pain around it, and you're allowing yourself just to let it go. Let it go, burn it, bury it, rip it up, so that it doesn't, it's going to still affect you in some way, but it's not going to have as much power over you. That is the hope.
I found, when we did the meditation, and
which one?
The one with the tornado and the sticky notes coming out. That now, I've really struggled in the past with guided meditations, but this one was really powerful for me, and I actually visualized all these sticky notes being ripped out my body, and then that golden light coming down through the crown of my head, and filling, I think I said to you, didn't I, in a message, filling my scars with gold. So every scar on my body where I was hurt was filled with gold. Yeah. And that felt very, very powerful and very healing.
Yeah, and loving, right? So we want to do it, whatever we do, we want to do it for the goodness of ourselves. And so it's a gentler way of doing it. And I mean, my dad hurt me and upset me, and I didn't ever ask him for forgiveness. I didn't ever tell him how I felt, made me feel, because I didn't think he would get it and understand it. And the same for my mom, even my brothers. So, and I also know that holding on to it and holding the grudge or the bitterness or the anger towards the person is not going to help me heal. It's going to keep me stuck in it, because holding negative energies will only eat away at us. And that's it. So that's why it's not for them, it's for you. So if it feels gentler to do more of the sticky note thing or writing the letter, that's fine. But I'm sure I didn't even mentally forgive my father or my brothers or my mother. It was just a decision I made where it was this thought that, okay, they are the way they are. They've done what they've done. I can't control it. They're not going to take it back. So I'm just not having much relationship with them. And I allowed myself to break that so that I could live a happier life. but it was for me, it wasn't for them. Does that resonate better?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay. So for the last couple of minutes, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to offer my services to you and let you know that I have a program coming up. And if you feel into it and it feels good and it feels aligned and it's something that you desire, then reach out to me, okay? So, do you desire to have peace and feeling free from the pain that binds you? Do you desire to be yourself again, someone who's confident, feels excited about life? Do you desire to be able to step into your personal power so that nothing and no one has power over you? And in your personal power, you're unaffected by others that don't affect you anymore, your moods and who you are being. Do you desire to take back control of your life, feeling more empowered than ever before, thriving? Do you desire to get off the hamster wheel of attracting narcissistic relationships? Do you desire to break the pattern so you no longer attract those narcissists or toxic people? Do you desire to heal your mind, body, heart, and soul so you can live your best life? Do you desire to know what you want, have the confidence, trust, and belief that you can achieve it? So, if that's a yes to most of it, then I have a 12-week program. It's coming up, and we're going to start on the 25th of January. And it's for you if you've been in a narcissistic, toxic relationship or had trauma in your life, and you want to take your life back and your health. You want to take back your personal power. You no longer want to be triggered by anything or anyone. You're ready to heal. You're committed to yourself and do the necessary work. And I'm calling the program Aligned to Your Health. And if you want to join me, then it's $3,800 in installments, or if you want to pay in full, it's $2,800. We're going to meet together for 2 times a week, one energy clearing, one healing session. Then there's going to be a group coaching call. And then you're going to have support and accountability throughout the entire sessions, the 3 months. And we're going to have a group WhatsApp chat. And then that way we can come together, we can help support each other. So if we're on different time zones and I can't be available and someone else in the group can support you, or at least, make you feel heard until I can get in there and help guide you through, then that's what that's going to be for. And it's a safe place to vent. Because sometimes we need that. And then I'm going to be dropping 1 video a week, maybe 2, depending on what's coming up in the coaching calls. And that's going to be for you to sort of like the master classes, but just not as long, just to be able to give you some information around the topic for the week and really dive deeper into it and have a better understanding of it. Because, the coaching call will be an hour long, probably, depending on how many people are joining. And then we're not always going to get all our questions answered. So this will help me answer those questions as well as guide you through how to get past maybe some resistance that you're experiencing, or some clarity around certain topics like this forgiveness bit, whatever it looks like. It's going to be an evolving thing because it's the first time I've offered it in this way. So if you're interested, then let me know. You can DM me directly. And I have other programs, different kinds of levels of sessions. If you want some healing, but you're not sure what you need, you're not either able to commit to a full 3 months, or you're not sure you want to, we can also book a call. We can have a conversation. So if any of that interests you, let me know. Okay. Okay, ladies, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming this week. I really appreciate the fact that you showed up for yourself and really honor that, because showing up for ourselves can be challenging sometimes, and we need to do it, but we need to celebrate it and lock it in. Okay. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Stop video and call.